shirtless, pot-bellied men running around on a global stage may be seen as juvenile or reckless, even as a political self-goal by the Congress. But to elevate the protest into national humiliation is to stretch the phrase beyond meaning. Today it is a shirtless protest. Tomorrow it may be a slogan you don't like, a placard, a gathering itself. Democracies must be wary, my friends, of this creeping intolerance. Policing a protest is one thing. Criminalizing dissent is another.
Views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal and do not reflect the views of any.
Namaskar. Hello and welcome friends to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now this week, the president of the Indian Youth Congress and several Youth Congress workers were arrested by the Delhi police. Their crime? They staged a shirtless protest at the Global AI Summit in the national capital. The Youth Congress president wasn't even there at the spot, but he's been called the prime conspirator, the mastermind by the Delhi police. Predictably, the protest was mocked at, seen as misguided by some, inappropriate by many. The outrage factory, be it on social media or on hyperventilating primetime news, was in hyperactive mode. Personally, I too saw the protest as poor form. Even in a hyper-partisan, attention-deficit, manic media ecosystem, a mainstream national party, in my view, really doesn't need to stage such a theatrical protest to draw attention to a cause. And yet, I want to make it loud and clear. I may disagree with the style, even the venue choice of the protest. But, and this is an important but, I will strongly defend the right to a peaceful protest without allowing the coercive power of the Indian state to criminalize it. Which brings me to the favorite phrase that has been used by many critics of the protest this week, that the protest was a national shame. A shirtless protest, we were told by none other than Prime Minister Modi, had somehow diminished India's dignity. Well, sorry, Prime Minister. This is rhetorical inflation at its most dramatic. Democracies, sir, have always been theatres of symbolism. Black armbands, hunger strikes, silent marches, street plays. Protest is rarely tidy or aesthetically pleasing. You will know, sir, you were part of the Nav-Nirman protests, the student agitations of the 1970s against Indira's government. That is the nature of protests, sir. Recall how also in 2004, 12 Manipur women disrobed in front of the Assam rivals headquarters in Imphal against the killing of Manorama Thangjam, who was also allegedly raped. That one act shook India at the time to the gravity of the crisis in Manipur at the time. In this instance, shirtless, pot-bellied men running around on a global stage may be seen as juvenile or reckless, even as a political self-goal by the Congress. But to elevate the protest into national humiliation is to stretch the phrase beyond meaning. The Indian Republic is not some fragile artifact that its honor will collapse at the sight of political theatre. More importantly, and that's the focus of Straight Bat, I want you to listen carefully. What truly constitutes, my friends, national shame? Not spectacle, but systemic failure. A preventable tragedy like a bridge collapse that claims lives. A custodial death that raises questions about the rule of law. Corruption that corrodes public trust in public servants. Communal violence that scars social harmony. Environmental destruction that is making our neighborhoods less habitable. Institutional breakdowns that deny justice to the common citizens. These are the real stains on our republic, my friends, that actually linger. You want to really know what is national shame today? Last weekend, a Manipur BJP MLA, Vungazin Valte, died from grievous injuries he had suffered during the ethnic clashes in Manipur in 2023. Valte was targeted by a mob in the heart of Imphal, and yet none of his attackers have been arrested or prosecuted yet. That, my friends, is a national shame. It is a national shame when a former BJP MP in Rajasthan this week took back the blankets he had given to Muslim women because he says they don't vote for him. This is brazen discrimination, which is a national shame. It is a national shame when a landlady refused accommodation recently to a PhD candidate in the national capital only because her surname was Muslim one. It is a national shame when parents threaten not to send their children to a school in Odisha because the lady cooking the midday meal food is a Dalit. It is a national shame when a group of Arunachali women are subject to racial slurs by their neighbors in the national capital. This is not the first instance, my friends, where fellow citizens from the Northeast have been victims of racial abuse. That, my friends, is a national shame. It is a national shame when healthcare is exposed in government hospitals and a young man has to carry his unwell father on his shoulder because no hospital staff or stretcher was available for him. It is a national shame when a chief minister of a state calls for economic apartheid against Bengali-speaking Muslims in his state. It is a national shame when a Sonam Wangchuk is jailed because he chose to raise his voice for the people of his beloved Ladakh. It is a national shame, my friends, when journalists from the Kashmir Valley are threatened with imprisonment for writing an article only because they are from the Kashmir Valley. Or indeed, a national shame when protesting Sikh farmers a few years ago were instantly branded as Khalistanis. It is a national shame when an octogenarian priest like Father Stan Swami was denied a straw sipper in jail after being charged under anti-terror laws only because he stood for tribal rights. It is a national shame when Bajrang Dal activists are allowed to get away scot-free after attacking Christmas celebrations. It is a national shame when a gym owner, Muhammad Deepak, as he calls himself, is targeted and ostracized again by right-wing outfits only because he stood up for a fellow Indian Muslim who was there. It is a national shame when convicts are garlanded by the VHP when they come out of jail after having been convicted in a barbaric rape and murder case. It is a national shame when a Ram Rahim keeps getting parole only because he is influential and powerful. It is a national shame when a tailor Kanhaiya Lal is brutally murdered by Islamist groups only because he allegedly committed blasphemy over a social media post. It is a national shame when stand-up comedians are arrested because they lampoon the powerful in this country. It is a national shame when our judiciary won't live by its own principle of bail, not jail, but will sermonize to the rest of the world. It is a national shame when indebted farmers in my home state of Maharashtra commit suicide, when a rich kid in a hit-and-run case gets away with minimal punishment, when a woman who is sexually abused struggles to get justice. It is a national shame, my friends, that we remain such a grossly unequal society where the top 10% of the population own 58% of the national income. I could go on and on and on, but I won't. Because by contrast, dramatic protest, like at the Global AI Summit, is at worst a fleeting image in the endless churn of our polarized politics, destined to be forgotten long before the next controversy arrives. But there is also a deeper danger in such language being normalized. When unconventional dissent is framed as disgraceful, the boundaries of acceptable expression quietly narrow. Today it is a shirtless protest. Tomorrow it may be a slogan you don't like, a placard, a gathering itself. Democracies must be wary, my friends, of this creeping intolerance. None of what I have said is to romanticize every protest. Democratic rights do not erase democratic responsibility. Citizens are free to criticize political tactics, but criticism must not become a pretext for disproportionate state action or moral panic. Indeed, there is an irony in all of this. Governments often do more to amplify such protests by overreacting to them. Arrested demonstrators attract far more attention, sometimes even sympathy, than their original message might have commanded. A confident democracy understands proportion. It recognizes that public order matters, but so does restraint. Policing a protest is one thing. Criminalizing dissent is another. In the end, my friends, the Youth Congress episode is less about one protest, but more about democratic temperament. A republic secure in its freedoms does not feel threatened by theatrical dissent. It debates it, mocks it, ignores it, and moves on. Democracy's history reminds us are diminished far more, my friends, by the silencing of voices than the spectacle of protest. India's great strength lies in its diversity of opinion, not in the creeping authoritarian streak of a police state. Let me leave you with a postscript. Do you know, my friends, that Section 144 that places major restrictions on public assembly has been in place in Gujarat for several years now, and it is almost routinely extended every few months. In a 2025 order, the Gujarat High Court ruled that the Ahmedabad police's repeated and continuous imposition of Section 144 amounted to unjustified, non-transparent and constitutionally impermissible restrictions on citizens' rights. All that has now happened, my friends, is the Gujarat model has gone national. Let me not say more. That was the Straight Bat. Do, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, you stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind. Namaskar.